Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome Their Excellencies, Lieutenant General the Right Honourable Sir Jerry Mateparae, Lady Janine Mateparae, Deputy Mayor Phil House, Tony Norman, Chairperson of the Northland District Health Board, Stuart Bowden, Director of Kiwi North and also patron of the Northland Medical Museum, Margie Matthews, Chairperson of the Heritage Park Board, and invited guests, the official opening of the Northland Medical Museum and our educational facility here at the Heritage Park Complex in Whangarei today. The Northland Medical Museum had its genesis some 35 years ago when John Swinney, Dr. John Swinney, who was employed as a specialist anaesthetist at the Whangarei Hospital from 1975 to 2000, became concerned at the way old equipment at the hospital, increasingly outmoded functionally and clinically, was just discarded off into open landfill without concern for its place in our clinical and social history. John's vision was to then start collecting and collating this equipment, and the rest, as they say, is history. Events around the development of the Medical Museum picked up a pace around the time of the Whangarei Hospital centenary in 2001, culminating in the setting up of the Northland Medical Museum Trust Board, established in 2002. The board was established as a charitable trust and holds legal ownership of the collection to this day. The board became busier, and so a sanctioning and physical and electronic collating of the collection commenced, involving the description and the provenance of the items. This was all done with significant input from our first curator, Mrs. Elizabeth Matthews, along with a dedicated group of volunteers. The medical equipment collected and collated was mostly sourced from the Whangarei Base Hospital, the regional district hospitals, and from local and rural general practitioners. We're also indebted to the Museum of Transport and Technology in Auckland for their support and some gifts of historic medical equipment, including an iron lung machine which was used during the great polio epidemic in the late 40s, 50s. At the time of the Trust Board's formation, the bulk of the collection was in storage, and in due course the hospital allocated the museum use of the original Cook's residential cottage on the base hospital site. At this time, a number of items became displayed in 6 cabinets in the public areas of the hospital, where they continue to be displayed to this day. Also at this time, our patron, Mr. Stuart Bowden, who really is our Ideas and Innovation Trust, came up with a unique idea of gaining commercial sponsorship to disseminate the museum by way of cabinet displays into the medical and wider community. This resulted in a situation today where there are approximately 17 medically themed cabinets spread throughout the community, with the contents being changed approximately 3 to 4 monthly on rotation. The board is hoping to extend this concept nationally in due course as resources permit. These medical cabinets have been very popular both with the sponsors and the public alike, and serve as great trips down a medical memory lane, often for clinicians and patients alike. The idea of sponsored cabinets, we believe, is unique amongst museums worldwide. In an area such as Northland, there is a rich history of medical pioneering. This is often poorly recorded, largely as a result of our remoteness. As such, and in tandem with the physical museum, it was decided that we should record and compile a biographical history of the people, places and events involved in this medical journey from its very early and humble beginnings to the complex clinical network that the Northland medical and health community has become in today. We are greatly indebted to Mr. Bill Sagru, General Surgeon and ex-Chief Medical Officer, who has a special interest in this area, and he has developed a wide intercollegial network of medical clinicians throughout New Zealand and has been the enthusiastic originator and driver of this concept. The Trust Board is hoping that this will become the springboard for the development of our own Medical Historical Society, and we hope to continue having evenings with visiting speakers from the wider medical and local medical community. The Trust also has in its care a substantial collection of medical textbooks and educational aids. We welcome our colleagues' participation in the further development of this historical biographical arm of the Northland Medical Museum as we develop into the future. In the year 2010, the idea of moving our collection, at this stage displayed and stored in the small original Cook's Cottage of the Whangarei Hospital, was mooted again by none other than Stuart Bowden, and the opportunity came up of moving to the Heritage Park site, and this exciting opportunity was grasped willingly by the board. And with enormous effort from our enthusiastic team of workers over the past 2 years, this has become a reality. And we have physically moved the Cook's Cottage, which is now our historic country cottage hospital, complete with the beginnings of its own apothecary garden. And this is physically placed half within the museum itself, which we believe is attractive, functional, and rather unique in itself. The board and I would like to thank all of our past and present workers for their huge commitment and time and effort, without which this museum's vision would not have been able to be achieved. Our sincere thanks also go to the Northland District Health Board, who have been and continue to be a great source of support since the museum's initial inception all those years ago. We are hopeful that this partnership will continue to extend many years into the future, allowing the Medical Museum to continue its guardianship role of the region's medical tuanga. We would also welcome the continued involvement of those present today and the wider community in the museum's journey ahead, in both accurately recording our history as it develops, and also invite you to all become involved in what we hope will be a dynamic medical historical society. So in closing, I would like to thank you all for your attendance today, and we would look forward to your feedback as you get the opportunity to view the museum later on. Thank you.
Hui mai koroma e huhui nei tēnei atu mihi mahana ki a koutou. Kia ora tātou katoa. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I extend warm greetings on behalf of Janine and myself to you all. I too specifically acknowledge Dr. Jonathan Spragg, Chair of the Northland Medical Museum Trust, and Dr. John Swinning, the museum founder and curator, Margie Matthews and Stuart Bowden QSM, Chair and Director of the Whangarei Museum and Heritage Trust respectively, Tony Norman, Chair of Northland Health District Health Board, Phil Hulse, Deputy Mayor of Whangarei. Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm at a bit of at a loss because I'm not sure who people are, and so thank you, Phil, for acknowledging when I said hello. Could I also thank the Minister for the karakia and also for welcoming Janine and me. Thank you very much for inviting us here for the opening of the Medical Museum. Before I open it officially, though, I want to comment on what I think are the important roles museums like this play. It almost goes without saying that our world is changing faster than ever before. New communication technology is delivering new ideas, and gigabytes of images, videos, photos, news and information in sometimes incomprehensible quantities. Much of this information is unfiltered, and it's often difficult to assess the reliability of the source. In that way, museums play a pivotal role in gathering, sorting, and interpreting this deluge of information into a form that is both reliable and which can be easily understood. Nowhere is that growth of knowledge more apparent, as we've heard, and as you are probably all aware, than in the area of human health and well-being, where medical advances continue to outpace our ability to understand them. Modern medical science, as we know, or modern medicine, as we know, is a relatively young science. For example, it's only 85 years since the discovery of the first antibiotic, penicillin, and 60 years since the structure of DNA was discovered, and just 13 years since the human genome was mapped. And it was only in the 1970s that modern CT and MRI scanners, for example, that have revolutionised the ability of doctors to make diagnoses of or for cancer and other diseases were invented. The Medical Museum here in Whangarei opens a window to an earlier time in our medical history, before the advances in technology and the diagnosis that we now regard as commonplace. From its origin, as we've heard, in Dr. Swinney's collection of hospital heritage pieces, the Medical Museum, I understand, has grown to be New Zealand's largest and most public medical museum. This new facility, which I'm going to open, which incorporates its former home, Cook's Cottage, as the cottage hospital, illustrates the past so that we can better understand the present. Like all museums, it is a guardian of a fascinating part of our history and our heritage, preserving and recording Northland's rich medical history, so new generations can learn from the stories of those who've gone before us. It is, in my view, a neat educational resource that allows both young and old to get up and close to medical equipment that can usually only be viewed in books or on television or on the internet. The perceptions you gain from seeing something secondhand is often different to the one you get when you see it with your own eyes. And I can think of nowhere more appropriate for the Medical Museum than here at Kiwi North, Whangarei's Heritage Park. This isn't the first time that Janine and I have been to the Heritage Park, so we're looking forward to having another look through. Because this is a place where visitors can also tour now Whangarei's museum and the Kiwi House, or walk around the 25 hectares of Heritage Park with its collection of Victorian buildings and its bushwalks and picnic areas. And that's why we came here the last time. This project is the fruition of many people's work and the organisations that have helped in doing it. That's the Northland Medical Museum Trust, the Whangarei Museum and Heritage Park Trust, the Whangarei District Council, Northland Health and the wider community. There are many who have gifted their time, skills and energy to this project and the ongoing operation of the museum. And as Governor-General, I thank you for your service and your contribution. I want to particularly note the contribution of founder Dr. John Swinney. Your passion and commitment for preserving Northland's medical health history has inspired and motivated others to join your cause. Thank you. And so, on that note of thanks, now I'm not sure just how we're going to do this and whether I say it now or later, but I'll say it now. It gives me great pleasure to declare the Medical Museum officially open. And I think there's a couple of other little things that we're going to do later, But ladies and gentlemen, it's lovely to be here, and it's great to be able to join you in celebrating this part of your heritage, our heritage, and especially the medical heritage. Thank you.
Right this time, Dr.
It's my pleasure to ask the Right Honourable Sir Jerry Mateparae to unveil the Medical Museum's plaque.
Just before I do, as we were walking down, Janine said to me, "When were we here?" I said, "We were here, but when we arrived, we only went into the car park because everything was closed." We brought our 2 boys, and it was 8 years ago. So normally I'm the one that forgets things. But it does give me great pleasure to unveil the plaque, and in that way also open the museum and hand over to my wife to do the second part.
They're hungry looking. Yes, they could, see, which is quite good.
She is used to using this.
Oh, yeah. Yes, just some of the way these sort of fascinate me. See, there's a pocket thing you can go tip down the cage or something. Say, yes. And pop it back in your pocket. That's what it is. I need some, what do you call it? Grommets. Yes. Actually, this bits of things I want. It's like testing the hearing. Pay the money's
Simpson or more.
It was great. It was very good. Yeah. And I'm pleased to be part of it.
John was acknowledged so well for all his work, which was really good. So,
Because he has put a lot of work into it, hasn't he? Yes.